Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Football a la Turca. This is episode 20, correct me if I'm wrong guys, and I am joined once again by Burak, Sezgin and Özer Dindjer after a 1 week absence. Guys, welcome back.
Thank you, Kaan. It's good to be back, as the song goes.
Indeed, it's good to be home.
And you guys picked your moment because today we have once again a special guest and a special treat for our listeners. We have already introduced her a couple of times, or at least we have said that we were going to sit down with her in the previous couple of weeks. But Samantha Johnson of TRT World is joining us live right now from Istanbul. Sam, thank you very much for joining us and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on, and I'm so sorry it's taken so long. I am the worst when it comes to scheduling anything. So apologies again.
Absolutely no issue. We had to get some other interviews in anyway, so it's perfect. You know, the guest is king, or like the customer is king, but the guest is king. I mean, we work around your schedule, or queen. Sorry, thank you for correcting me. But yeah, it's we work around your schedule, not the other way around. So thank you very much. We very much appreciate the fact that you're willing to take time out of your own personal time just to have a talk with us about Turkish football. So thank you.
No problem.
So first, quickly introducing Sam. She works for TRT World. She's a sports anchor, correspondent, and of course, we had the webcam on. I'm looking straight at my camera, which I usually don't do. So a sports anchor, correspondent, and just a journalist, basically. You've worked previously for Sky Sports as well. I think that's where you got your start. Is that right, Sam?
Yeah. I started at Sky at the tender age of 23. I had 2 weeks work experience there as a runner. At the end of the 2 weeks, I was offered a job as a researcher, and it kind of started from there. So it's a while back, and when you asked me to come on the show and what we were going to talk about, and oh my God, a lot has happened since then, and even before the age of 23 as well, because the kind of media career started way beyond that. But yeah, that's where the sports broadcasting started anyway. Because before I worked for a music company and a music magazine, but I always knew that music and sport would always make a crossroads or make a crossover, because sports was always the end game. Like sports broadcasting was always the end game, and sometimes you just have to, it's never an A to B road. Sometimes you just have to go from A to C to B or whatever. It's one way or another you get to where you want to be.
And what exactly inspired you to become a sports journalist?
Well, I'm from a sports mad family anyway. My dad used to play like Sunday League, so I'd watch him sometimes at the weekend. My mom, she played volleyball for England. I think she played for it was the under 18s or under 19s, but she played at a really, really good level. I wasn't the best at sport. I was very good at netball, but I wasn't, at a high level. But it's always been a part of my life, my family's life. And then when you watch the Olympics, for example, on the BBC, you think, gosh, that would be a great gig to have, like just to travel the world, talk about sports, just to be a part of it. And, I still get a buzz from it now. I still have to pinch myself like, oh my God, I'm at the Champions League or whatever, or, I'm at the World Cup. I was at the Women's World Cup, the opening game. So just to be a part of it, it's just amazing and a dream come true. And I've just always wanted to be a part of it as soon as I saw it. So the tricky thing was how to get into the industry, because if you don't know anybody, it's very difficult, because the sports world can be very, very cliquey. I didn't have like a famous parent, or, I didn't, like, nepotism is kind of rife in the sports industry. Mm-hmm. I didn't have that. And I took the long route. I really had to make my contacts and get in that way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we see it even in the footballing world when it comes to players. Sometimes being the cousin of a board member is enough to get on a certain team. but not going to dig into that. There's
No.
one particular example that jumps to mind, but I'm not going to delve into that. But how difficult was it? Because you're not just coming into the business, I'll call it that. You're not just coming into this industry cold, without friends, so to speak, nobody holding your hand, guiding you in. Not just that, but also, I mean, you know, let's call out the elephant in the room. You're a woman, and it's a largely...
Last time I checked, yeah.
And it's a largely male-dominated industry. It must have been probably twice as hard for you to break into this industry. And what were some of the challenges that you experienced, and how was it for you to come into this world of football or sports journalism? Because, of course, you cover more than just football.
Yeah, it was difficult, or still is, I suppose. Or maybe not so much now, because I've done so much and I've been in the industry for over a decade. But I was always told from a young age, look, you're going to have to work twice as hard. 1, because you're a woman. 2, because you're black. You have to probably add a third one, which is your working class as well. So you have all those factors against you. And I think for me, I went in there knowing those factors. And in a way, it's not held me back, but I was just too aware of it. And I was just very tense. And, going into a newsroom sometimes where it's just all males or majoritively male, white, you're surrounded by white males. Some that have gone to like the best schools or gone to Cambridge, Oxford. It's intimidating. It really is. So you just think, I don't belong here. Mm-hmm. But somehow the bloody mindedness of me, I just thought, no, this is what I want to do. So I don't care. I don't see why any of you should stop me from getting to where I want to be. And that's just me being a very stubborn Johnson woman. I was raised by very strong women. My granddad was, God, I miss him so much, but his work ethic was immense. And, he taught me a lot as well about just standing my ground and, go for what you want. And you have to work for it. I don't think a lot of people realize to get to where you want to be in this life, you really have to put in the hours. You have to put in the graft. So, that was it really. It was difficult, but there was a lot of work, a lot of sacrifice. For example, working at Sky, I would start at 2:00 in the morning. Because I didn't drive, I would catch the night bus, and I lived in North London at the time. And then to catch a night bus all the way to Osterley, which would take about an hour, 40 minutes, possibly. I did that. And then I would finish that shift at 12:00, but I would stay behind to practice, speaking aloud, doing the autocue, reading the autocue, that sort of thing. I would stay behind after a long shift. So I would say I worked bloody hard to get to where I am right now. So
basically like Pierre van Hooijdonk staying 45 minutes after every training to kick some free kicks and becoming the best in the world at it.
It paid off so well.
Hey mate, it paid off.
Put your hands up.
No, yeah, but definitely. I think what we can learn from that, and for if any females or women are listening to this, aspiring to be a journalist someday, I think what the most important thing to take away from that is that as long as you have the passion, it trumps education, it trumps everything else. As long as, of course, you understand sports, but if you have the passion for it, that helps a lot as well, because there are some people that don't, and it's like, okay, it's showing. Yeah. But you're right. You got to have the passion, but you have to have the work ethic as well. And there are times when you will be humbled as well. So you can't. I mean, I went into not Sky thinking that I know everything, because I obviously don't, but I was willing to learn. But there were moments where I was humbled and you think, okay, Sam, you're going to have to work. That's normal. From the bottom. Yeah, exactly. You're going to have to work all the way from the bottom to the top. Especially in your early 20s, you think you know so much more than you actually do. And it's everyone, that's whether you're a woman or a man or I was going to say a dog, but I don't think dogs have those experiences. I'm a dog person, by the way. You may hear her barking in a few minutes, so if you do, I do apologize, but she's outside barking at the gates, watching people walk by. Anyway, but that's just part of growing up, getting humbled sometimes, learning the fact that, you know what, maybe I don't always have the answer, and maybe my answers aren't always correct, and you know, smart people learn from that. Other people keep doing what they're doing, and they'll keep bumping their heads forever and ever. But you know, learn from your mistakes sometimes. Learn from, just be willing to listen to people who've been around the block and learn from them. And I do think you have a mentor too. I know. Who is your mentor? If I read it in an article that you do have a mentor you still stay in touch with. Is that something you're willing to talk about?
I do have a few mentors. It depends on which stage of my life I'm going through. So there's one from the music industry who's been in my life since, I was 21? Oh my God, 15 years. Oh my God, 14 years, sorry, yeah.
Don't reveal your age.
I'm very comfortable about revealing my age. I'm 35 years old, and I'm really, I don't see why I should have to hide it.
No. I remember, you know Bruno, right? It's a common friend of us. He worked at TRT too for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Bruno Bottaro, you know him, right?
Yes, Bruno, yes, I know him.
He was so full. Yes, and that's exactly the exact same thing he said about you. And I think he jokingly mentioned once that he asked your age and you almost slapped him upside the head.
Oh, sometimes you got to put them in their place. Come on. No. I didn't slap him. No.
But he was. He said it jokingly, of course. But he was really full of praise of you, and I think, you know, he even said that he misses you, and that's one of the things he misses about Turkey, because he's working in Germany now for Zam. But
Bruno is a smooth one. He always had a word and an eye for the ladies. I know that much. So.
Well, he is Italian after all.
Oh gosh, no, I miss him. He was great. I said TRT World. He was one of those guys who was just willing to learn and to immerse himself in the culture. So he would go to a lot of games as well. I think he wrote for, I don't know if it was football or soccer. What's that other magazine that's in Turkey right now? I can't remember.
Socrates.
Yeah, Socrates. I think he wrote an article. Yeah. Right. So yeah, he was brilliant for us. But I'm glad to see him doing that.
But talking about your career, how on earth does it take you from England to Turkey, of all places? It's a really weird career move. And did you speak to anyone beforehand? Was there someone you knew that maybe gave you advice before you took this leap of faith, basically, to go into the Turkish sports world, journalism, moving your life to Turkey, leaving your friends and family behind? It's a big decision. What got you to that point?
When you put it like that, it's like, oh my gosh, Sam, you did something utterly crazy. But at that point, it was an opportunity, and it was a job, and it was just, you're right, the chance to do something I'd never thought I'd do. I knew I've always wanted a career abroad, but Turkey was never, on that list. But when it arrived, I just thought, why not? I don't have any big responsibilities. I'm still young. Just go for it and see if you can, go for a year, see if you like it. I mean, I actually held on to my apartment in North London for 3 months. Oh, no, that was it. I wanted to hold on to it for 3 months just to see if I liked it. And if not, then I'd come back. But I think after a month, I just thought, right, I'm giving up. I'm giving up my life in London completely. I'm cutting all ties. I'm just going to go all in. Just went for it. But look, the only thing I knew about Istanbul was the fact that Liverpool won the Champions League there. It was just, I did my research. I was, you go on the internet just to see what it's like. And I don't think you get the real picture until you're in the city, and then you're like, oh my God, this is it. I look back at 2015 because that's when I arrived, and to me it seems like it was black and white because it was a very tense period, and I think I was very naive. I didn't realize what was going on. I suppose I didn't know the atmosphere. I didn't know what was going on politically or anything like that.
That was just before the coup then, when you were...
I think the coup was in 2016. I want to say, yeah, it was 2016.
Yes. Yeah, 2016. You're
I
right.
arrived in November 2015.
Okay.
And I just thought, I'm coming here for a job. I'm going to be a sports anchor, sports correspondent. I get to travel. You just start to think about your job without thinking of where you're actually living. I just look back at that time, and it was just a different Istanbul because it was so quiet. It was still beautiful, but for me, I was a stranger. I felt like a stranger just walking around, like, where the hell am I going? This is a long walk. Why does it take so long to get to Besiktas or whatever? But now I can go everywhere, like in how many minutes, just hail the cab and just go. And I feel at ease because this is my home now.
And have you mastered haggling yet?
Yes and no. Look, I know enough Turkish or a bit of Turkish. Do not test me. Please do not test me on Turkish right now. But I know enough Turkish to know that, to make sure that they know that, she actually lives here. So she's not a complete foreigner. She lives here. She pays her taxes. It's okay. So, it's, just thinking back to when I arrived, I would never expect to be here for almost 4 years. It's been the best 4 years, the most defining period of my life as well, personally and professionally. But it's a leap of faith, but I wanted a change, and it's been the best. I don't regret it whatsoever.
And were there any big shocks to you when you first arrived, like maybe a culture shock or something, or just, I don't know, something that really seemed weird to you, as things you took some time for you to adjust, and were there pleasant surprises maybe that you didn't expect?
So in London, if you're pressed up against someone, it's odd and it's weird, and you give people their personal space. You don't get that in Turkey. So if I'm at the ATM, someone is standing right behind, so you need to back up. I'm trying to get my money out. You're going to see my PIN number and everything. But now I'm used to it. It's little things like that, or I don't know. I think I'm just used to everything. So when I first arrived, I think that was the main thing. Of no one queues. No, everyone's just going. It's those little quirks. But I'm used to it now. I'm sort of Turkish because I don't care. I don't give anyone any space.
I have one of the most embarrassing stories ever when it comes to queuing with my dad. With my dad, who's like, I'd be like you. I'd just wait in queue in line like a normal person would. And we were at I believe it was the Hagia Sophia, and my dad was like, no, let's just cut line, and I was like, I was like, no, and he just went. He did, and then like two English women start like, oh, sir, what do you think you're doing? You're cutting line. And he was like, no English, and he speaks. No English. He speaks like 5 languages or something. So
brilliant! Yeah, I think if you got the confidence to do that, just do it. That's what I've learned as well.
No, I can't bring myself to do something like that. I'd be too embarrassed.
There's another thing that I actually love about being here, and it's the hospitality. So what I've learned is if a family invites you for dinner, don't eat for that whole day. Just don't, because you are going to get fed. And
they stuff you like a pig.
It's just crazy, and I just think I can't eat anymore. But you can't say no because you're going to offend them, and you don't want to offend anybody. You have to eat the food, and everything is just gorgeous. So I think I put on a few pounds in the first few months that I lived in Istanbul.
Good thing
Do you prefer Turkish tea or Turkish coffee?
Coffee. Or Turkish coffee, yeah.
I'm not a coffee person
love
myself.
It. No, I love it.
Yeah,
you know what? I tell you, that's a big culture. So in the UK, every corner almost on every corner, you have a pub or something like that. You don't get that here, obviously, but you have coffee shops. They're everywhere, and you just think, how are you still open? Aren't you worried about competition? And it's like, no, that's just the way it is. I love it. I love the fact that there's a great coffee shop just 2 minutes away from where I live. It's brilliant. So I'm a coffee addict.
Do you have a favorite food?
Sometimes I love gözleme. No, that's it. I have gözleme. So they do really good gözleme at work.
Great choice. Yeah. My mum makes an amazing gözleme.
It's got to be cheese. I don't like the potato so much. It's got to be cheese. Yeah.
I'm a big cheese fan too.
Dude, are you Turkish? Like, are you even Turkish? What the hell? You don't like cheese? You don't like?
I am a big a cheese fan.
Oh, okay. Like, you got me worried.
Yeah, I'm on a what's it called? A keto diet right now, and I know we shouldn't eat too much cheese, but that's basically what I live on: cheese.
I can't live without it. Can't live without it. Yeah.
No, me neither.
And there's so many varieties out here as well. It's even better.
And what about so if you like cheese, Burak, obviously pide, you like that kind of stuff, or
pide's good. I like that. It's just have to be in the mood to have it. So in the mornings before I get into work, they stop serving gözleme at 11 o'clock, but I get in at 11. So if I get in at 10:45, I'm racing up to the canteen.
That's why you get in at 10:45 just to get.
Actually, once. And my producer's going to kill me for saying this, but I was going to be late coming into work about 5 or 10 minutes, and I actually text him from my taxi to say, mate, seriously, I'm so sorry to ask you this, but can you go to the canteen? I'm just getting some gözleme. I'll pay you back. And he actually did it. He said, am I your PA? Like, who do you think you're talking to? Like, I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's amazing.
So, yeah. And he did it as well. I love him. He did it. But yeah, that's my little obsession. Yeah.
So what are the biggest differences working in the UK versus working in Turkey?
If we're talking personally, I found work-life balance. And it helps that you have some of the best beaches just an hour or 2 hours away from Istanbul. I learned how to enjoy myself and enjoy my work. Whereas when I was in the UK, I was constantly trying to chase my career, trying to find work. Because I was freelance as well.
Mm-hmm. But race.
Yeah, exactly. I was very much a part of it. And, to blow off steam, what do? You go to the pub. I mean, I traveled anyway, but it wasn't as easy as me living in Istanbul. And being here, you realize, my gosh, it really is a hub. Like, you can get to any country in a matter of hours. Flights are cheap or cheaper. It's perfect. I would say that's the main difference for me. And that's one of the main reasons why I would find it very difficult to leave Turkey or leave Istanbul, because I'm happy. I'm happy with the work that I'm doing, the freedom that I get with my work, and I get to travel with my work as well. And I also get to travel for pleasure. So me and the girls, we're actually going to go to Antalya, I think next week, for a long weekend. So yeah.
Super jealous, super jealous.
Good, good. Yeah, but it's more that. I think at the grand old age of 35, I've found a great balance, and it's done wonders for my health, for my mental health, for my spirit, my soul, everything. I'm just a lot happier here than I was in the UK.
Mm-hmm. That's great to hear.
Well, fantastic. Well, we're going to take it back to the roots a little bit now, Sam, with you, because we know you're from Birmingham originally, and that you're an Aston Villa fan.
Yeah.
I think I heard it earlier. You said graft, but you said it in that Brummy twang. That we're
you got to graft, not graft. Graft, that A, mate.
Indeed, and of being a Villa fan, famously you had Alpay from Turkey come over to play for you, and in the other direction we've seen Darius Vassell go to Hakkarigucu. You did a great little interview with him on TRT World, which I'd implore anyone to seek out and find. A great piece of journalism there. And of course, the late great Dalian Atkinson, who had a season with Fenerbahce in like the mid-90s. So did those players have any influence on your decision to go for the job in Turkey at all? Just wanted to...
I have to be honest, no. It was... I went in completely blind when it came to coming to Turkey. And I think that was the best way for me to do it, because if I did too much research, I would have doubted my move. Sometimes it's just good to go with your gut feeling. But it's not until I actually got here and you're learning more about the clubs and you're like, oh my God, he played here. And, there was quite a few English players that came over to, the Super League. And that's how we got.
Late 80s, early 90s with Gordon Milne had a...
Exactly. And I didn't know it. I just thought, how could I not know this?
I mean, Galatasaray had famously had a trio because they got Tunis and he brought in Saunders and... Barry Venison,
and they still talk about those players over here as well.
Yeah, it's like their go-to story.
Yeah, definitely. But I love it. I think I do love the way football, without sounding too cheesy, football really does bring everybody together.
It's true.
This is true. Yeah. But doing the Hakkarigucu story with Darius was absolutely brilliant. I was, first of all, just happy that he said yes. I think it was a very emotional journey for him. And he actually said, he felt like he got some closure. And what's nice is, one, we're both from Birmingham, so obviously the accent came out like tenfold. But we could actually relate to each other's stories in some capacity. So we know what it's like to live and work in Turkey as a foreigner. You're kind of the outsider, but you're always invited in. I mean, I feel so welcomed being here as a foreigner, like as British, as a woman, as black. It's like, wow, okay, you don't know me, but hey, yeah, cool. It's so nice. It's like a warm feeling. It's like a family. So we could actually connect on that story as well. But yeah, that story, I think it's one of my best. It's just one of the most enjoyable stories I've done to date. And I'm just happy that he was happy with the results. I think he was a bit nervous, but the more we spoke, the more he opened up about his time there as well. So yeah, just look, the opportunity to do a story like that it's why I love my job. I don't think I'd be able to get this opportunity if I stayed in the UK.
Yeah. Perhaps, I don't know, you probably would have gotten there anyway with your go-getter spirit.
I don't think so. Well, I know what you mean, but I really don't think so, because it's the show that I work for or work on, Beyond the Game, we do different stories to the other channels. So whereas other sports shows do the results and they might have an interview, we like to, as the title suggests, go beyond the game. We like to do feature stories. We like to look beyond the scoreline. We like to do feature pieces. Just, it goes a bit deeper than that. And I don't think I can honestly say I don't think I'd have the opportunity if I stayed.
Well, you famously got Claudia Ranieri to give you an exclusive, didn't you, Sam?
Yeah, God, that was 2016. 2016 was quite a year. Yeah. So that was brilliant as well. I really enjoyed that, and I think that's when everything kind of catapulted for myself, for our show, for the channel. It was just brilliant. It was. I look back at that time with very, very fond memories. I didn't realise it was going to be as big as it was, but again, talking to a man like Claudio, who's so humble and such a gentleman, it was an honour. And again, very humbling experience for me. But yeah, the fan video, I didn't realise it would take off. It was just an idea, because we all remember him crying on the touchline. I can't remember which game it was, but I do remember seeing him getting emotional on the touchline. I thought, oh yeah, okay. So I'm not saying that I wanted to make him cry, but I just thought, okay, so he is a very, very emotional man. And yeah, I just thought, okay, let's get a fan video for him. Let's see how the people of Leicester feel about him and this opportunity of winning their very first Premier League title, and to break the mould, just to break the dominance of the Manchester clubs, the London clubs. It's I love that, again, one of my favourite stories as well. It was. Yeah. Oh gosh, you're getting me emotional. I'm looking back. Wow.
That wasn't the plan. just want to highlight that was a
It was a
great
highlight.
Claudio, and
Thank
Leicester
you.
fans will definitely check that out, and especially the fan video. And I'll leave it at that to not ruin it for people who want to check out for the first time.
Oh, nothing.
And I was gonna ask what are some of your favorite things as a sports journalist, but I think you already kind of answered that question, because I think interviewing, getting the story, maybe a little bit lifting the curtain a little bit, and interviewing fascinating people, that seems to be something you really get a kick out of.
I enjoy it so much because I get to listen to fascinating people. I get to just show people another side of a story. It's why we do what we do.
Mm-hmm.
The Hakkarigucu story, I was amazed at the response that we got. I didn't realize that so many Turkish people would say, I never knew that Hakkari had a football team or a women's football team. And, you know, when I told people that I was going to go to Hakkari, people were saying, why are you going to go there? Like, do you know about Hakkari? I think people's perceptions changed after that story came out. And again, that's a reason why I love doing what I do. You know, traveling as well, that's a huge plus, because I be on a plane and I love airports. I don't know, it just gives me a buzz. But yeah, it's one of the highlights. But yeah, just meeting people and getting to meet new people, just discovering new stories that people haven't done. I don't think anybody in Turkey has done a story like Hakkarigucu. So I'm still in touch with the girls. I spoke to their coach, albeit via Google Translate. But I spoke to the coach last week. So I'm trying to help the girls, trying to find a sponsor for them because they've lost their sponsor. So hopefully I can speak to someone at the TFF, inshallah. Let's see what happens. Yeah.
For sure. I mean, yeah, sponsorship is important for women's football to continue to evolve, of course, in Turkey and everywhere in the world, of course. I mean, we see in the men's brand or branch, or how should I put it as well. I mean, teams without a sponsor just, you know, they get it, they run into trouble or difficulties at least. So my next question, it's a little bit more tied into you as a journalist. Do you have any pet peeves that you things you don't like in journalism, stuff that bug you, perhaps, that from other journalists maybe, or I don't know?
Nothing from other journalists. I'm not. What bugs me? When people don't get back to me, which is odd considering it took me ages to get back to you about this interview. Yeah, I'm a hypocrite. I'm sorry.
The irony.
It's I know, right? I don't like lateness. I'm a stickler for punctuality, but that's just me as a person. I try to be late sometimes because like everyone in Turkey, or whoever I meet anyone in Turkey, is like they're probably 10 or 15 minutes late. So I'm like, okay, I know they're going to be late, so I'm going to be late as well. But it never happens. But I think when it comes to my work, I'm a stickler for punctuality. I find it frustrating when I'm trying to get an interview with a club in Turkey.
Oh,
because the way it works is totally different to how it would work with a Premier League club.
Yeah.
So with the Premier League, you can just go to the head of communications, send an email. It's a yes or no. You know it within a day or so.
Yeah.
But it just takes that bit longer here.
Yeah.
And luckily, I've dealt with some amazing people, but it is just getting used to the culture. So they might get back to you in 2 weeks. But by then you're thinking, okay, is the story dead? You know, can I still work with this? Yeah. I actually do feel sorry for all the press people in Turkey because they must be sick of me sending emails and WhatsApp messages and, hi, it's me again. Have you thought about this interview? Yeah, I think it's not a pet peeve. It's just I find it difficult and it's something that you have to get used to. So you navigate it. You navigate around it somehow. Yeah,
it's very recognizable. Especially, I get a lot of foreign journalists frequently asking me if I can put them in contact with someone at this club or at that club because they've sent emails to, the public addresses that are available. Usually that's like bilgi at whatever, and you never get a reply. Especially when you email them in English or something. Journalists from BBC, from Sky, from I don't know. From
it's really difficult.
It's really
difficult.
Yeah.
You just have to know, I suppose, who to go to, because
exactly. You have to know the right person in the club, in the proper hierarchy, or just someone who can talk to someone in the right position. It's
exactly.
Yeah.
So luckily, like whenever I've wanted something with Besiktas, luckily I can go to Fikret Orman first, and then I'm like, is it okay if we use the stadium to film for a segment for a special? And he says yes. Speak to so-and-so. So I speak to that so-and-so to say, okay, well, your Bashkan has just said we can do this, and then it goes like that. So I'm very, very blessed and very lucky to have met quite a few people, and like people from all walks of life, just over here, and everyone has just been so accommodating. And I don't know if it's because I'm a foreigner, I have no idea, but I just go in with the utmost respect, because
just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, do you also have Galatasaray chairman's number on speed dial as well?
Well, I met Mustafa Cengiz at Iftar. I think it was like last month.
Oh, wow.
Was it last month or the month before? Lovely guy. He's such a charismatic guy. Really cool. So I wouldn't mind interviewing him one day.
Do not give Özer his number, because he will spam him with cell diagne or something.
No. I'm lucky. No, I'm lucky that a lot of people pass through TRT or TRT World, and I'm very cheeky. So when I heard Mustafa Cengiz was having iftar with us, I said to my boss, "Is it okay if I go over and say hi to him?" He said, "Yeah, sure." And he's like, well, he's looking at me like, "You're crazy." So there's me, walk up, and there was I think like this kind of security guy, or you just kind of. Is it okay if I walk over and say hi? And I said, okay, just bear with me for a second. They go over, comes back to me, yes, it's okay. So he takes me over to the table, and we just, and luckily there was some other TRT sport guys that I know, some other journalists there. So we just all kind of had chai. It was really nice. It's surreal sometimes. I just think, Sam, you just spoke to like a president of like one of the most famous clubs in Europe. It's crazy, but I don't take anything for granted. Wherever I come across, whoever it is, I'm just grateful, because everyone's just been really cool to me.
And is it difficult sometimes, because a lot of Turks don't speak English very well? Is that a problem you run in often, or is it okay in Istanbul?
No, it's fine. I mean, everyone speaks Turkish or Turkish. Sorry, everyone speaks a bit of English. I try a little bit. Yeah, I try a little bit with my Turkish, and I can do the pleasantries, but that's about it. But no, it's the communication's fine. Sometimes there's a translator, but ultimately I can understand, or I can get a gist of what that person is saying, or the gist of a conversation. You can't underestimate, body language as well. That comes into it quite a bit. So
especially in Turkey, where people are very passionate in expressing themselves.
Exactly. So it's like, hey, you seem very happy. I'm going to go over here. Or there is a bit of a language barrier, but I'm used to it, or I'm understanding a lot more now. I mean, was it last year? When did my mum come in? Right. So this is going to sound like a weird story, but last year my mum and my aunt came over because Il Divo were playing in Istanbul, and I'm not an Il Divo fan. My aunt is a huge Il Divo fan, but I was going to go. All of a sudden, I was at work and I get a call from Fenerbahce, and I've been invited to this journalist dinner, and I'm like, I'm in my head, I'm like, I've got to go to Il Divo concert with my aunt and my mom. Do I sack this dinner off, or do I go with my mum and my aunt? I explained to my mum and my aunt what the deal was, and they were very understanding. So I went to this dinner, this journalist dinner at Fenerbahce, and everyone spoke Turkish. I think there was only 2 people that spoke English, so they were translating for me as well. That was very, very interesting. But it's, again, I could understand what people were talking about. I can pick up on numbers, I can pick up on days, and I don't know, players, things like that. So you get by. It's surprising what you can understand when you're put in that situation.
And Sam, what type of advice would you give 16-year-old you when it comes to career advice?
Just believe in yourself a lot more. It's funny. I said before, I've got this bloody mindedness to do whatever I want to do, but there's still this pang. I think they call it imposter syndrome. I think it's like I shouldn't be here, although you know that you are good enough and you have every right to be there. But still, you feel like you're going to get found out. But yeah, exactly. So I would say to that 16-year-old girl, like, Sam, you've got this. You really do. Don't worry about a thing. I would say that to her, and then I'd give her a little slap, just like, come on, wake up, come on, you can do this. So I don't condone violence. That is a joke, but yeah, it's that's what I'd say to her.
A good slap to wake you up sometimes isn't the worst thing in the world. But let's transition to our next segment, and you already alluded to it earlier with Hakkarigucu. Let's talk a little bit about women's football in Turkey. Özer is going to take the questions here.
Yeah, thank you. So I thought the Hakkarigucu was and it really put the spotlight on women's football in Turkey, something which hadn't really been shown at all before. But if we consider women's sports in Turkey generally, I mean, it's particularly things like volleyball or basketball, there's already a high profile and a really high standard, and it's very popular, but particularly those two in Turkey. But women's football, despite football being the #1 sport, has always kind of lagged behind. So I think that was a really kind of wake-up call for people to find out more about Turkey. And recently, now that the Women's World Cup is on, of course, as well, people asked me if Turkey was in. I said, no, the Turkish women's team isn't in it. And I wondered why. So I looked back at the qualifiers to see, where did it all go wrong for the Turkish team. I couldn't even find Turkey in the qualifiers. Then I rolled back again to the pre-qualification qualifying round and realized that Turkey had failed to qualify from a group that was topped by Faroe Islands. Mm-hmm. So my question is, where did it go wrong? And how can Turkish football, women's football in Turkey, rather, kind of be brought up to the standard that it needs to be in order to become competitive in the rest of Europe?
That's a very good question. And it's a question that I asked in the beginning before I did Hakkarigucu. So looking for ideas on, my next story, what to do. It was exactly what you just said. I'm like, this is a football crazy nation, like insane, like something like I've never experienced before. Where are the women? Or, where's the women's team? I mean, I see female fans. The women love football as much as the men. I asked my colleague Efe about it, and he, his answer was, women, they play, volleyball and basketball. And I said, well, okay, that's great, but that still doesn't answer my question. Like, why isn't there more emphasis on women's football? And we just didn't have the answer. So we started to look at the TRT website to see if there was a league, and there was a league. And we started to look at the teams, and the only team that I could recognise was Besiktas. And we wanted to know if that was linked to the the main club, and it was. Mm-hmm. And then we went down the list to see, it would be easy to go to Besiktas to do a story about them, but I want something more. And then Efe stopped. He said, "Oh my gosh, Hakkari have a football team." I'm like, "Okay, what's the deal with Hakkari?" And he told me about it, and I'm like, "Okay, we're going. we have to pitch this. We're going." The pitch got turned down for the first time, and I actually went into one of my boss's office and I said, "Look, what do we need to do to make this story go through. And I pitched it again. I told him the angle that I wanted to give. I said, I don't care about anything else. I care about these girls, you know, the fact that the president and the coach, they're age of 30, and they are bossing it. They are running this, and they're successful, you know, and we got the green light, and I've never fought so hard for a story in my life.
Stubborn Sam strikes.
Stubborn, exactly. I get what I want. Come on. And I just, again, I remember telling people about the story, and they were intrigued because there were some ideals of Hakkari in that area. And I just thought, okay, this makes it even more interesting. So I'm more intrigued to know what it's like when I get there. When we landed, I've never seen such a beautiful landscape in my life. It was just, I was blinded by how white the snow was because you're surrounded by the mountains. And it was just, I say it was bare, there was nothing there. It was beautiful. It was pure snow in the middle of nowhere. We were on the border of, I think it was Iraq and Iran. And I'm like, okay, this is the furthest I've ever gone in Turkey. Like, I've been around, I've been to Malaska, I've been to, I've been to a lot of places in Turkey, but this is the furthest I've been. And Hakkari just blew my mind. Like, it's such a beautiful place. The people were amazing. We were welcomed. I just thought, this is what I was expecting, the way everyone was talking about it. So when we met everybody from the club, I met the president, and she was just so impressive. Again, just a very strong, principled woman. And you meet a lot of strong women in Turkey. I've found that I've met so many strong women, amazing women in football in general, but they probably don't get the spotlight because they're behind the scenes, but they should get the spotlight. So I'm going off track a little bit, but yeah, that story.
Perfectly fine.
Sorry. I'm trying to go through everything. Like, we stayed there for, I think, 2 days, and we were just welcomed, and they were just happy that we're there to tell their story. The players were awesome. They were hilarious. Mm-hmm. Technically great. They were just impressive. And I think there's a player called Messi. Her nickname is Messi. And she just said, you know, if I didn't have football, I don't know what I'd do. I'd probably just be at home doing nothing. But now she's studying and she's playing football. And we just think sport gives women confidence to do whatever they want. And it's, excuse me, it's again, I think I've said this twice before, but this is probably one of the best stories, and one that I'm really, really proud of, because it just opened the doors to women's football in Turkey. It needs more promotion. It needs bigger backing. It needs sponsors. It needs a drive. And yeah, being at the Women's World Cup, when you're looking at France, you're looking at the USA, you're looking at Germany, and they're powerhouses. And you know, I've just come from Paris. I watched the France USA, and that was immense. And then seeing young girls watching the game and thinking they want to be like those girls that are on the pitch. You know, I left the stadium thinking, okay, if I had to get a shirt, I want to wear Wendy Renard. I think she is amazing. She is insanely talented. She's brilliant. So imagine a little 8-year-old girl watching her, thinking, I want to be like that. I think there should be more emphasis on women's football in Turkey by far, because it's the number one sport. So I'm just hoping that the TFF put more focus on it. Maybe, I don't know if other clubs want to get involved, like the bigger clubs. I don't know, because it's a financial thing as well. So if you look at all the clubs in the Super League, almost all of them in some capacity are in debt.
Yeah, like 14 or 15 out of the 18 clubs, basically. Yeah. You have to get.
And I really hope it gets better, because sport in this country is insane. Like, not even just football. I didn't realize how big it was. I didn't realize how huge basketball was until I got here. The culture is immense. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched on kind of getting the bigger clubs more involved in this as well. And Besiktas are currently the reigning champions in the Women's League. They're obviously going to represent in the Women's Champions League as well. And I think there's been one team every year since 2009. Trabzonspor were the first. So I guess hopefully if do well, it will act as a catalyst for the other clubs to kind of open up and set up their own female branches as well.
I hope so. I really do, because obviously with Champions League football, you get to travel. It's a great experience. You get to play amongst the best. It's a great life experience for these women. I actually asked someone at Galatasaray if they were going to, have a women's team, and I think they're going to review it. They're going to have a look at it. So again, it all comes down to financial. So fingers crossed.
It's good that you've got the word out and planted the seeds.
I hope so. I really do. I hope so. I mean,
it's important. We've got to start somewhere, right?
But then I ask, why wasn't it brought up before? Why does it have to take? Why did I, or my team? Why was it down to us to do that? I don't know. I mean, it's not a criticism of anybody, but it's just a question I have.
True.
Again, it's a insanely mad footballing nation, beautiful footballing nation, one that I'm obsessed with, and it's kind of hooked into my veins now. And if I don't see a flare at a football game, I'm thinking, is it really a football match? It's
well said.
yeah, it's true. But I really do hope so. I mean, I'm trying to get a meeting with someone at the Tech Affair just to talk about it and just to get it off the ground. I can only say inshallah. I have no idea what's going to happen, but at least if we again start the conversation. And 2019 has been a great year for women's football. So you have, sponsors putting their money where their mouths are. You have record-breaking attendances across Europe.
Yeah, and the World Cup attracting immense numbers of viewership. In Holland, 2 weeks ago, they had more than 1 million viewers for the Netherlands' game, and that's immense for a country with 17 million population.
Exactly. So, I mean, you think about it. Istanbul has a population of what, 18 million?
Yeah, something. Depends on the time of year.
Exactly. 18, it could be 25, I don't know. But look, I know when it comes to Turkey, you could have a Tiddlywinks team and you got the whole country supporting that team. Imagine if you had the women's national team at a World Cup, everyone would be backing them. I know that for a fact. So I don't know what's going to happen in the future with the national team. It's something, I don't know, maybe I'll do more stories about, do more interviews. But yeah, it's something that's kind of caught my attention and something that I'd like to give more attention to personally as well. So we'll see what happens.
And a quick tie-in, how did you get in touch with the women from Hakkarigucu? Did you reach out to them personally, or did that go through TRT?
So our planning producer, Efe, he contacted them. And yeah, they were willing, they were game, they were just, it was brilliant.
Yeah, they were probably very happy that you guys decided to give them the spotlight, which is all they need, really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want it to be a case of, okay, we're just focusing on Hakkarigucu and forgetting about the rest.
No, but
it was just, it was a unique story. And again, because of the area, because of that region, it was to have women playing football. It kind of breaks any kind of stereotypes that you might have. So I respect any woman playing football, period, because I know I couldn't do it. I'm not that fit. I'm not that skilled. I'd rather talk about it and watch it. But any woman that can do that, I tip my hat off to. Anyone that's doing it in Turkey, even more so.
And let's talk a little bit about Turkish football in general. And Özer, you're going to pick off with the first question again.
Yeah, I mean, this is the question that's been on my mind for a long time. Dying to ask this. But what is it that sets Turkish football apart from the rest? What is it that makes Turkish football so unique?
It's the fans. Every day, her good fans, mate. It's just, it's them. I can't stop saying it's insane. It's just intoxicating. It's the culture. There were two incidences where I learned about Turkish football, and the first one was with Besiktas, and I was invited by a few Besiktas fans to eat before the game. So we had fish, we had reka. I can only have reka with spicy foods, FYI. And yeah, that stuff really gets you drunk. Oh my God, I thought I could take my drink, but obviously not. But yeah, I learned more about the culture, the footballing culture through that. I went to a game with these Besiktas fans and they showed me the ropes. And it's just a family. It's huge. I mean, the times that I've gone to games on my own, not necessarily just with Besiktas, but with gone to a Fener game or whatever, I've gone on my own and I still felt safe. It's just a different culture. I mean, you go into the stadium and everyone is standing and singing, and it's non-stop. Non-stop. It doesn't go quiet. And I can imagine for the players visiting, especially if you're playing in Europe, the players that are visiting, it's intimidating. It's very intimidating.
You often get a lot of the cliches that the commentators come up with, the cauldron this, or the intense atmosphere this.
But it's true.
It's all true, isn't it?
It's true. And I love it. I love it. I don't know if...
Welcome to hell is one of those cliches that really does ring true.
It is. But it's so beautiful at the same time. I think I was amazed. I think my first actual game was Fenerbahce, but that was for work. And I was just amazed at the choreography of chanting from one end of the stadium to the other. And it was just, I can't remember, I don't know what they're singing or what they're chanting, but it was just perfectly choreographed in unison. It was beautiful. And it just makes your heart sing a little bit. And you just become more immersed in the culture. And it's addictive. Yeah. It's when you go to a Premier League game, yes, it's brilliant. I love Premier League games, but it's quiet. Mm-hmm. Unless you go to, I mean, Crystal Palace fans are amazing because they don't stop singing. One bit, they're actually brilliant fans. But it's just something I've never experienced before. I'm just thinking about all the other games that I've been to. My mum actually came to a game with me in the first year in 2015. We went to a Besiktas game when they played at the Fatih Terim Stadium.
Infrastructure.
No.
When they were still.
Yeah, because the Vodafone Park wasn't built yet.
Yeah, exactly.
So that first time, that was incredible because the lights went out and everyone just kind of put their phones on. It was actually quite magical. It's quite beautiful. And we made jokes like, someone that hasn't paid the Lecky bill, brilliant. And true story. I learned my first Turkish swear word at that game. So now I know a few. I will not say what I've learned.
I'm going to ask off air what it is.
I'll let you know. But when the guy that was next to me, he was shouting it towards the opposition player. And I'm like, he's saying a bad word. And I turned to my friend. I said, what did he just say? He said, no, I can't tell you. It's such a bad word. And I'm like, now you have to tell me. So he told me, and my mom now knows that word as well. So we say it a little bit like, but the best bit is to come. So when I got to work, I think it's the week after, my producer said, Sam, did you went to this game, didn't you? I'm like, yeah, me and my mom went. He goes, so you guys have been banned from what for one match? And I'm like, huh? I've been banned from anything in my life.
Yeah.
Said, oh yeah, because of bad language. And I'm like, but inside, it kind of felt like, oh my God, does this make me a hooligan? This is a great thing. Oh my God. So yeah, I think it was a section of fans or X amount of fans in that section or whatever were banned for bad language, and me and my mom just happened to be in that section. So yeah, I've been banned from a football match, just Turkish Super League.
Nice.
If that was all
you've been to a few derbies.
Sorry,
I said you've been to a few derbies as well, haven't you, Sam? I saw you went to Galatasaray Fenerbahce last November when Gelson got chased off the pitch at the end.
That was hilarious.
Oh, the 2-2. What a game that was.
Oh, that was amazing. That's the thing with Fenerbahce, right? You always come back, or the last season you always came back. You could be 2-0 down, 3-0 down. I think it was against Besiktas. You were 3-0 down. You came back 3-3.
I don't remember that.
Mate, come on.
Blocked.
Come on.
Blocked
Mate,
from my memory.
I was there. I saw it. I saw the fights afterwards. I'm like, it was insane because the Galatasaray Fener game, that was first derby game. Although I've been in Turkey for almost 3 years, that was my first derby. And I actually took Darius Vassell and his agent as well, because he was over that time as well. So I managed to blag some box tickets or box seats. I'm like, yes, go Johnson. But it just lives up to the expectation. You just think, oh yeah, there's not going to be a fight or whatever. And then lo and behold, it's one of the biggest fights. You're like, this is insane. This is what I expected it to be. So whereas some fans are like, oh, I can't believe this has happened. I'm really embarrassed. I'm like, no, this is amazing. This is, what.
It's like insane. A football match and a boxing match all in one.
It is, but to understand it, you have to be there. Because at one stage, the people fighting on the pitch, and then I look 2 boxes beside me, and there was another fight. I'm like, why are you fighting? And you're both Galatasaray fans. Like, what's going on? It was crazy. But what was funny before the game? Obviously, they do the security search. They went through my bag and they took my compact, my makeup compact. And do you know Fenty makeup? You know Rihanna's makeup line. Yeah.
Yes, I use it every day.
Let's go. Yes.
Humor me. Just say yes, please. Look
yes,
just
yes.
say
Sure, yeah.
Yes, of course, the famous makeup line. Yeah, we know. Yeah.
Okay, look, that costs money. That's what I'm saying. But they took it away from me, and I'm like, what do you think I'm going to do with a makeup compact? And they said, it's got glass in, or it's got a mirror in. I'm like, I'm not going to hurt anybody. Nothing's going to happen. There's not going to be any fights. Yada yada yada. Lo and behold, one of the biggest fights of the season. And yes, but it's just one of the memories I had. It's whenever I've gone to a derby, something happens. Put it that way. So I'm going to go to more topics.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing you took it off you, because in the heat of the moment, you might have been tempted to throw some of those mascara onto the pitch.
No, it was just the compact. But no, I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't want to be banned again.
As a Besiktas fan, it's always disappointing when there's not a fight between Fenerbahce and Galatasaray players. It's like watching an ice hockey match. You would just expect it.
You do expect something.
Yeah.
I don't condone violence, and I'm not saying that it should happen all the time. But it's just it goes to show how much passion there is in the game, and you don't get it elsewhere in the other leagues. Not on the scale. I mean, maybe if you go to South America, you get it. You get it
but
there.
Certainly in Europe, you
Argentina.
don't get similar levels of.
Maybe in the Balkans. I think there's this really famous Bosnian.
and CSKA Sofia against Levski Sofia, and
to be in the middle of it, it's for me, it's crazy beautiful.
So what do you think are on the other side then? What do you think are the things in Turkish football that really need improving to bring it up to the top 5 elite level?
Sort out the finances.
Yeah.
I think that's the big issue, really. I think the thing is, it's going to take time for anything to change, because it's embedded, I suppose. It's been one way for a very, very long time. But if you want change, it's going to take time. I don't think time is on the side of a lot of clubs in Turkey. And at the same time, some certain fans might be a bit impatient as well. They want to see the big names at their club. They want to, compete for the title every season. They want to be in the Champions League, but in order to get better, I think clubs have to keep a tight leash on the finances, and that's the only way I can see it. I don't know too much about it, but that's whenever I've done a story about the Turkish Super League, that seems to be the number one issue, and it's just overspending.
We will be sitting down with John O'Carr in the coming weeks, and we will be delving into all of that. So be sure to listen, and you'll find out more about the finances. But that's definitely true, and I think it's a structural issue where even if, let's say, all the debt would get wiped clean right now, I think the problem is that there's a little bit of, like you said, like this wanting of instant success, star players, everything like that. I think they would just dig that same hole again. So there needs to be a fundamental change. Kind of like Borussia Dortmund. They took a step back, went bankrupt, I guess, but then they took 2 steps forward, and now they're a very healthy club that has some success. Of course, it's difficult in a league with Bayern Munich, but still, very commendable what they do.
But there's a lot, when you look at the big clubs, there's a lot of history. There's a lot of pride as well, and you want to upkeep or hold that standard. So I think there's a lot of pressure on the people at those clubs as well. So as much as they want change, sometimes it can be difficult. So
large portion of the fans don't understand it anyway. They don't know how bad the finances are. They don't realize. And when a new president comes in, he inherits the debt of the previous president. But for many fans, it doesn't matter. It's who is in charge at that point. That's the person who's going to get criticized. So, like, for example, for Fikret Orman, he inherited a huge mountain of debt, and there's a large portion of the fans that don't really understand. Oh, you know what? He's had 6 years. He should have sorted it out as the mentality, but that's not realistic.
I actually think they understand. I mean, this is why I commend Ali Koch for coming out and being totally honest at the beginning of his reign to say, you know what, we thought that this debt was this amount, but it is actually, we just found out it's actually this. So that was always going to be difficult. And I actually feel for Fener a little bit, because you have to undo. Look at your baby, honey. Oh, look, but you're going to agree with me here. Look, the first year was always going to be difficult. Because if you've been under a reign for it's about 20 years?
20 years, yeah. Exactly. 1998 until...
Exactly. It's going to be difficult. Change is always difficult. I'm actually watching Telesport now, and I think, Fenerbahce have been doing some deals, a lot of players on free. So, look, there's light at the end of the tunnel, but I think fans have to be realistic as well. And doing vox pops, talking about the financials of, Fenerbahce. A lot of them were, I think they were realistic. I think they were fine with it. I think it's when they started to lose, and it was. I think the Fener
so much loses so much.
But it was. I think the problem that you had was that you're just inconsistent. So you can come back from 2-0 down against Galatasaray, but then you'd lose against. Who did you lose against? Did you lose against Hakkarigucu?
A lot of people we lost against.
So it's things like that. Yeah. So it was a but it was a confusing season. It's a season of transition. Let's see how you get on for the new season. So don't lose faith. You were never going to get relegated. Fenerbahce would never get relegated.
No, that's for sure.
We were very kind of realistic, me and my group of friends in our WhatsApp group, saying, look, it's going to be, we just didn't expect it to be so bad. But, we went in with realistic expectations, saying, it's going to be rebuilding, transition. It might even last more than one season. But, we've got a good man steering the ship. So let's just be patient with him.
He's a cool guy. He's a very cool guy. He's charismatic. He's intelligent. He's a businessman, obviously.
Successful businessman, yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. He's come from one of the richest dynasties, richest families. But he's a down-to-earth guy, and he's very passionate about the club. The business of football is obviously very, very different from the business that he's used to, and I foresee a better future for Fener. So. Yeah.
Did you know his dad Did you know that his father is actually a really big Besiktas fan?
I did know that. I was just thinking, wow, how did that work? But
that would not fly with my son. I would disown him.
Oh, bless him. Let him make his own decision, man.
That's the only decision he may not make. He can come home with other men. I don't care, but no Fenerbahce fan.
So whilst we're on the subject of Fenerbahce, we know that you interviewed Victor Moses recently, Sam. A great piece. You got the question about Conte in there, but, having played under him at Chelsea, and he's a big fan of kebabs, which we love. And so if you're listening, we love you, Victor. I'd love to recommend you some places anytime. But are there any players that are currently active in Turkey that you'd really like to interview? And I know you've had a chat with Clichy, and you've met a few other people as well. But is there anyone, let's say, like Turkish and foreign player there that you'd just love to have the opportunity to sit down with to pick their brains like you did with Victor?
First of all, let's see how this transfer window goes. You know what? I'm very, very intrigued by Arda Turan. Very intrigued by him.
Okay.
Aren't we all?
It's no, it's he. How can I put this? I wonder what kind of pressure he was under when he left Turkey to go to Spain and to be a success, to settle in. It's difficult to settle into any kind of. It was difficult for me to settle in Turkey. It took me about 1.5 years. But imagine being a player like him, and you have to settle in like that. You have to perform like that. I just wonder what that was like for him. He was Turkey's golden boy. And what's happened since then? I think he fascinates me. He really does. So I don't know. I like people that have an opinion. They might be fiery. They might have something about them, but that's what makes them who they are, and it's what draws us to them as well. Mm-hmm. So you've got this immense talent. He's played for Barcelona. He's at Barcelona, And
yeah, I think he realized that very well.
Yeah, it's
a little too well, if you understand what I mean.
I think he just intrigued. He's a fascinating character, and I'd like to know. I watched a really good interview with him about this boy from Bayrampaşa, and him talking about his roots, his love for his country, his love for his family and his friends, the people that he grew up with. I'd like to know more about that. And then what happened at Galatasaray, his relationship with Fatih Terim, it goes on and on and on. And in that interview, he said that he saw Terim as like a father figure. That's what he said in that interview. And I'm like, wow, what happened?
Yeah, something sour. It's definitely an interesting story.
It's an interesting story, but that's
yeah.
Oh, well, I'll try to, but it's.
Can you pitch that to your producer?
I'll try. If access, brilliant. But that's what I love about Turkish football. There's always another layer. Mm-hmm. People are just so interesting. There's always a story. They're passionate about what they do. Look, what I've learned about Turkish people is it's one or the other. You know where you stand. It's love or hate. There's no in between. Şöyle wishy-washy, whatever. It's the extremes. It's that, and that's what I love about it. That's what I love about the culture, and it's a reason why I'm staying here, because the amount of stories. Like, I would love to go to each Turkish Super League club, and just say, tell me what's interesting about your club. What's unique about your club? And it could be the food, it could be the history, or a player, or something. This is it. Like I said, it's hooked into me now. I need to know more about it, and I'm constantly learning about Turkish football as well. I'm always willing and ready to listen to people's stories. Go to any game, and it's brilliant. I love it. But I think if you said, like, Sam, who would you like to interview? I'd say him, because he's a brilliant character. He fascinates me.
Excellent. And on that point, you said you'd like to go to each club and ask them to tell you what's interesting about them. Is there any one particular club whilst you've been in Turkey that have managed to kind of capture your heart? It could be for any reason. It could be for sporting. It could be for a good experience you've had with them. So just interested to hear, and also any not so good stories as well, for the listeners as well.
Not so good stories. Not so good stories. I haven't had any bad stories. Hand on heart, I haven't had any bad experiences, in touch with I don't. I would say I've had, this is going to sound very vanilla, but I've had great experiences with every club that I've been to. Whatever, if I've had an interview, if I've just gone to visit, I've always been welcomed. And maybe being a foreigner helps, because wherever I go, people want to tell me about, the club or their city or something. Mm-hmm. So, it's, for me, passing the Vodafone Park, like every day going to work, that was very interesting, because I got to see it being rebuilt, and then before it opened, we actually got access, in the dressing rooms, just to see what it was like when it was done, and that was an amazing experience as well. So I've been very welcomed by Besiktas more so than any other club. That's not to say that I dislike any other club, but I think that was the club that kind of accepted me, and I suppose and that's down to a lot of fans as well. Some of my friends that I met in my first year, they were Besiktas fans as well. But at the same time, I did a story about the Intercontinental Derby, and the guys that I met who were part, was it Kill For You? Kill For You. Yeah. So the guys that were part of that, who are now, a bit older and they've got families, they were telling me what it was really like, back in the day. And I still talk to those guys. And they took me to a basketball game. I think it was Fenerbahce, Real Madrid. They took me to that game. And they're just great. God, they're such lovely guys. I'm like, I can't believe you were a hooligan. Like, you're so nice. What the hell? So I know I'm very lucky and very blessed that people have wanted to teach me more about their teams and their clubs. Same with Galatasaray. My friend Hazret, she came over one evening and she cooked me. Well, she actually cooked for me, which was great. I got everything ready. Like, she doesn't drink, but I drank. But everything ready for her, and she was just hilarious. I just thought, girl, do not break my TV. Do not break my TV. But she gave me a Galatasaray scarf. So I actually have 3 shirts and 1 Galatasaray scarf. So I have a Basakeshir shirt from when I did a story on Basakeshir. I have a Fenerbahce shirt. That was actually when I went to the Hifashi event, and Ali Koch actually signed the letter and everything. I thought that was really nice. So that's actually still in a box. That's like in a precious box. And I have a Besiktas shirt as well. So all of them have number 7 on the back, and they all have Johnson on the back as well.
Very nice. Keeping in the theme of favourites, do you have a favourite footballer playing in the Super League right now?
It was, I suppose it still is in a way, Charisma. He's just a classy guy. I just like, he's just so bloody skillful. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I don't have a favourite player. I never have favourites, but I always admire how someone can be so technical and score from an angle. I'm like, how the flip did you do that? How did you bend that in with the outside of your foot? Like, how? Like, what's the science? So I think that was the first player I thought, okay, Charisma's my guy. Yeah.
He's a very flamboyant character. Not just on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. If you I love his suits. I love his pink suits. I'm like, don't hate on him. He can do whatever he wants. He is Charisma. Yeah. But there's this GIF that went viral or something, and there was a flip knife on a pitch. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah.
And And the way he like sorted that knife out and he just handed it back to the ref, I'm like, whoa, you can cut somebody. What the hell? That was very handy. Like,
did you see when he when there was this bird? This was in his first stint, but there was a bird that came on the pitch and he picked it up and he just threw it. I was like, no, poor bird. But he just
no, I haven't seen that. No.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it. Yeah.
Yes,
well, I mean, it looked a little bit rougher than it was, I think. But like, I was like, no, I'm kind of I like animals, so I was like, no, don't do that.
Oh, bless you. How's your dog? Is he okay?
She's outside still. I thought she was gonna make a cameo, but big garden, cool. So she likes to.
She's fine.
Yeah, she likes to run out there. Yeah. Okay. Let's transition into our final part, really, because I think we've touched on most things already. But Burak still has a question for you.
Yeah, you mentioned you got the shirt, Fenerbahce shirt from Ali Koç at the He for She event. So I just want to ask, what was it like meeting, I'm going to pronounce her name wrong, so please accept my apologies, but Elizabeth Nyamayaro?
I think it's Nyamayaro.
Nyamayaro, and she was at the launch event as well with Ali Koç. Fenerbahce have partnered with them in Turkey. Just to ask, what was it like, first of all, meeting Elizabeth, such a great character, and then how important you think the actual He for She movement is for globally and in Turkey as well?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it was an honour to be invited. The people in that room, they were all female journalists, like Turkish female journalists I've never met before. But as soon as I walked into the room, they were just, again, very warm, very welcoming. And it's always, I always love being in a room full of accomplished women. I think after being surrounded by so many men, because it's obviously a male-dominated industry, to see other women, it was just a breath of fresh air. And I still talk to a few of those women as well. They've become great friends. But hearing Elizabeth speak, I was in awe. It's for me to see another powerful black woman who's headed something like the He for She campaign. That meant a lot to me, to think, oh my gosh, it's just I was fangirling almost. Well, no, not almost. I was flat out, and I tried to keep a straight face and be professional, but I was just in awe of her story and impressed that they got a club like Fenerbahce involved. I mean, kudos to the club, because they're the first Turkish team to do something like that, and I hope it opens doors for other clubs to go down that route and that avenue. So I think let me try and find what he said, Mr. Koç. Sports and football in particular is vital in overcoming gender stereotypes, bringing an end to discrimination and setting an example for society. That's huge. Like the fact that you had that from your president, your Fenerbahce president, that's huge. So if he can lead the way, Fenerbahce can lead the way in something that has a place in society, period, whether you are in Turkey, whether you're in the UK, Germany, whatever. It's just monumental. And we need more men to, I suppose, join the, I say feminist movement, but we need men to fight for gender equality as well. It can't be just one way. It was heartwarming to see a club like Fener, and maybe, other clubs throughout, throughout other leagues will get involved as well. But it's just heartwarming to see something like that coming to fruition, for sure.
Fantastic. And for some of our listeners who may not be aware of who Elizabeth is and what she does, can you just tell us her role, just something about her, so we can maybe go ahead and look her up and listen to some of her stories?
So if you go on to He for She website, she is the head of, I think it's the UN Women. So she actually started this campaign. She saw what needed to be, what needed to change. And I think she got Emma, oh gosh, this is terrible. What's the actress? I remember Elizabeth's name, but not the actress. Who was the one in Harry Potter?
Emma Watson?
There you go, Emma Watson. Yeah, she got Emma Watson involved, and she spoke at the at the UN as well. So the fact that Elizabeth has headed something like this and started something like this and it's gone worldwide, it's just, again, monumental. So yeah, if you go onto the He for She website and you can see what they do, what their campaign, what their manifesto is, and then get involved and just, I suppose, educates yourselves from there. It's, yeah, I hope she comes back over to Istanbul. I hope she watches another game. So I would like to interview her next, actually, for sure, definitely.
Okay, well, winding down then, a quick question as a professional in the broadcasting world. Do you have any tips for us to improve our podcast, perhaps?
First of all, thank you for calling me a professional. Sometimes I feel like I'm not. I feel like I'm just winging it. No, keep doing what you're doing and just being passionate about what you do, because sometimes there will be days where you don't like it. You'll be bored. You'll be, I don't know, disheartened. But you just carry on and keep on getting your guests. Keep having the conversation. Be controversial. Just, have fun. Have fun with it. And you're doing something that's unique. I don't know a lot of podcasts that focus on Turkish football. Maybe I'm wrong, but I came across you guys through Emre, on Twitter, Turkish football. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I think everyone follows him. I follow him. He's a great guy, by the way. We have a lot of conversations about, I don't know, derbies, signings, gossip, or whatever. So I actually found out about you guys through him. Just keep at it. That's it. And just what I love about interviews, or what I try to do with my interviews, is make sure that it's a conversation. Mm-hmm. So rather than back and forth, because sometimes that can be a bit boring, or in my eyes anyway, it can get quite monotone. Just have a chat, talk about what you love, and you're going to disagree. Some of you might agree. I don't know.
That's why we got the three of us together here, so that we had some disagreements.
We had some heated debates over the last few months, that's for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Good. And then you get everybody involved, and then you create a debate with other people, and it's like, hold on a second, I don't agree with you, but I see your point, or whatever. But no, just keep on keeping on.
We did try to get a Basakeshir fan, but that's like finding a needle in a haystack. So.
Oh, actually, no. I know. Look, did you watch the Basakeshir story that I did? There were some fans.
I did not know. And actually, I had Ed Butler from BBC reach out to me before the Galatasaray Basakeshir derby, and he was looking for a Basakeshir fan to interview, and he could not find one.
There's one guy that I work with, and his name's Fatih Kiber, and he's a huge Basakeshir fan. So he's my famous Basakeshir fan, my go-to guy. So, yeah.
Next time I get that question, I'm gonna direct him to you. And
there you go, Fatih Kiber, and that's his name.
Okay, well, Sam, thank you very much for being so royal with your time, giving us your story. Very inspirational, I think. I hope that it's going to inspire some people, whether it's boys or girls, just to go after their dreams and just keep working hard. It's really an inspirational story, and thank you very much for that. Is there anything you would like to plug before we call it a day, perhaps?
I'd like to plug our show, TRT World. It's Beyond the Game. It's on at 16:30 GMT. We go live. We have the best guests. We go in depth about certain stories, whatever's going on. We are there. We go into it. And my Instagram is @Miss Sam Johnson, if you want to follow me.
Okay, we'll put those in the show notes, and of course we'll put some links in there too to your Hakkari story, and which other story did we talk about today as well. We'll try and see if we can find a link to the story from Basakeshir for sure. And
there's another interview coming up with Nuri Shine. So I interviewed him last week, the week before. Amazing man.
Must have been fascinating. He's going to Harvard right now, isn't he?
He went to Harvard. So we spoke about that. So all of that's in the interview. And he was over for a masterclass. He was doing his own masterclass, but he's so intelligent, so passionate. He's just a brilliant man. And again, interview that I enjoyed massively.
You know what? When he retires, Nuri Sahin for TFF president. Maybe that can.
Ooh, I was thinking more a national team coach. I don't know, but I don't know.
We need a highly intelligent man at the helm, and who's seen a lot of the German, how it works in Germany. You know, I think the youth development in Turkey. That's something that someone like that could really improve a lot.
Yeah.
But thank you very much, Sam, for this interview, guys. Thank you very much too.
Thank you
So much, Sam.
Thank you, Sam.
Guys. Thank you. Çok teşekkürler.
And thank you for listening to Football a la Turca. We'll be back next week, hopefully with, I think we're going to do some transfer coverage, but a week after that we'll be back and we'll delve into some financials again with John O'Hara. Thank you for listening. Good night.